Well, this year is the year we are building our homestead skills even without having huge acres. I feel like you could get started with any of these steps even if you had no property at all. So today I'm sharing what my goals, my focuses are for 2025, building towards my homesteading skills. Number one, I want to rebalance my budget. Being a new homeowner last year was so much fun and so exciting, getting into my house, thinking about how I wanted to set up each room, dreaming about how I wanted to set up my garden. And I accomplished quite a lot in that first year in my home. And if you're interested in hearing about some of the things I did last year in my garden, I will link my last video where I talked about 2024's accomplishments, and you can learn more about all things that I did last year. But having all those new projects, having all those startup costs, putting in a garden, buying soil, this, that, the other thing, was really expensive. In addition to all of just life was really expensive last year. So this year I really want to focus in on my budget, and I want to think about how I can start to cut my expenses and save money. So the first thing that I'm doing to get started on this journey is a no buy challenge. I've seen a bunch of YouTubers here on the platform announcing that they're going to do a no buy year, which is exciting to me and also scary. And I don't think I could commit to a no buy for a whole year. I am still new in my house. I am still setting things up. There are still things that I actually need to buy, but I'm going to take a little bit of a pause from consumerism, and I'm going to try at least a no spend January. And so how I'm thinking about this or thinking about incorporating this into my life is that I'm going to buy or pay for just the essentials. So obviously, bills, things like your mortgage, your utilities, your insurance, what have you have to pay for those things. But even in some of those things, I'm going to see where I can negotiate down and try and cut costs and reduce my expenses in those, as well as you're going to buy essentials. I'm going to buy essentials like groceries, gas for the car, maintenance, upkeep, essential things. Like if something in the house breaks and needs repaired, or if something's completely worn out and can't be used anymore, it's an everyday essential, like, you know, the shoes that I wear to work that I will have to replace. So those little things, um, I'm going to allow myself to repair or replace as needed, just the bare minimum essentials, and then, the most basic things that I need to run a household. I will still buy like soap for, for basic cleaning the house and washing clothes and that sort of thing, but I'm not going to go out and buy a bunch of new. But that'll bring us to the other list, which is things that I'm going to try not to buy, things that I'm trying to avoid spending on. So things in my no spend list would be things like clothes, home decor, random things from Target, um, packaged snacks, fancy drinks. I've gotten really into sparkling water, and I'm gonna dial it back a little bit, so that I can save money. I think what else was on this list? I'm not gonna spend on any sort of extravagant self care things. I don't do that a lot anyway. I don't do a whole lot of like spa days and manicures and pedicures and that sort of thing. But if I feel tempted, and there's a lot of in the new year propaganda about self care, self care, self care, which always translate into spending, I'm gonna instead do the type of self care that is actually like healthy routines, drinking water. I'm gonna try and do the things that won't cost me a lot of money. And if there is something nice that I want to do for myself during during this challenge, or however long I'm able to stretch it on for, maybe the 1 month will go well and I'll stretch it into 3 or 6. But for the time being, I really don't want to spend on any of those extravagant type of, um, I don't know what to call it, personal care, skincare type of things, hair, that kind of stuff. I'm going to try not to spend money on that stuff. And it will be hard. um, yeah, so that's my no spend list. Um, and what I think that's going to allow space for in my life, A, just breathing room to get from day to day, and B, I can save money to spend on things that I really care about, experiences, time with family, visiting my friends, celebrating the people that I love, um, and saving for my future. The way that I like to achieve fixing my finances or rebalancing my budget, start with the no spend challenge, and then I'm going to look for ways to cut my expenses, hopefully start saving some money. And this isn't really, this probably won't happen in January, but over the course of the year, I'd like to figure out a way to start earning more, whether that be getting an increase at my main job or figuring out a side hustle that can help earn some money to supplement what I'm making. So that was one, fixing my budget. Two, homestead goal. And the reason I'm leading up top with the financial and not the garden things is because I think if you lead too far forward with your garden vision, garden dreams, as I did last year, you can easily get tricked into overspending on things like seeds and tools and hacks and all these cool different garden beautiful things that you feel like you need, but that sometimes can put some strain in not having enough money for the essentials. So I'm zoning back in on my essentials because if you can't pay if you can't pay for your house or your place to live or your car, then there's absolutely no money for gardening or anything else. um, so starting with a budget, and then my second goal is that I'd like to focus on cooking more from scratch and learning to enjoy more homemade goods and homemade snacks as opposed to packaged snacks. I'd love to get into bread baking, maybe learn how to make some homemade granola bars, and just all the sorts of things that I might like to buy. Would I would enjoy learning how to make those things for myself. Does that mean that every time I want to eat a loaf of bread or a bagel, I'm going to know how to make it from scratch or have the time or the energy to do so? Probably not. There will still be points in my life where I go out and purchase some food item. But for the most part, for my basic needs day to day, I want to be able to make most of those things myself from scratch so I know that the ingredients are high quality and healthy, and I can also save a fair bit of money. Three, I want to increase my food preservation skills. I had a lot of fun growing a lot of things this year, but I know that if I want to dramatically increase my food production in my garden, which I do, um, I will also need to know how to preserve that food to make sure that it actually gets eaten and doesn't get wasted. One of the things that I didn't do as well this year was knowing the right time when to pick something and already having a plan for how to preserve it. That was part of the reason why I don't think I got as much of a harvest from my apple trees as I could have. In future years, I would like to be able to already have a plan before things are ripe on the vine, already have a plan for what I'm going to make it into, when I'm going to do it, how I'm going to get it done, and recruit help. It would be so fun to have an apple picking day at my house where I invited a bunch of my family members over and we all picked apples and we baked some apple goodies and I canned some applesauce or apple butter and everybody got to go home with a basket of apples or a home canned good. Like that would be so fun. I would love to do that. I would be so excited about being able to really utilize the things growing in my backyard and share it with the people that I love. Four, and you'll notice that my goals for this year, my homesteading goals for this year, so far have not included really any gardening things. We talked about preserving, cooking from scratch, saving money. The fourth one is that I really want to simplify my seed starting setup. I spent a lot of time and energy last year trying to grow a lot of things from seed, some with success, some with less success. And I think I would be better off trying to purchase starts of my main crops that I know that I definitely want to have in my garden, things like my tomatoes and my peppers, because I know that if I buy those from starts, they're going to be healthy, strong plants that are going to perform really well, and then I can focus my energy on growing more of the unique or special varieties of things that I couldn't necessarily buy at a nursery. The other thing that I would like to do to simplify my seed starting is to do some winter sowing, especially with my native flower seeds and native plant seeds. So look for that in the coming weeks. Hopefully I'll be getting started with some winter sowing of native seeds very soon. I would like to get them in the ground while we're still getting lots of snow falling on the ground to help water them in and keep them healthy over winter. In the past, I think I've gotten really intimidated by the whole idea of trying to mimic the cold stratification and scarification that happens in nature, thinking about, oh, I need to refrigerate the seeds and I need to scuff them up with sandpaper and I need to do this, I need to do that, just to get them to germinate, when just putting them outside in nature and allowing the natural freeze thaw of wintertime will do most of that work for me anyway. And nature will select for the healthiest plants, and those ones will germinate and sprout. And then it frees up time and space and energy in my life for me to focus on other things, other homesteading skills, other things that I enjoy, and have hopefully more stronger plants with less upfront effort and input. 5, I'd like to focus on putting in a garden fence around my main fruit and vegetable garden, my raised bed garden area, to protect from the critters, mainly deer, groundhogs, even though I have all types of animals in my backyard. Groundhogs, chipmunks, squirrels, rabbits, deer, you name it, it probably lives in my area. That is great. I love wildlife. I don't want the wildlife to be eating the food that I'm growing for myself and my family. So coming up with a good fence or a good way to protect the crops that I'm trying to grow for me is going to help me to be able to live more in harmony with nature rather than constantly being frustrated about the animals existing and trying to live and eat. I want to learn more about composting and soil health. This was actually one of my goals for last year, and I feel like I have a lot more to learn in this area. I would love to invest a little bit more. 7, I really would like to invest in hobbies. Since I'm taking a step back from consumerism and spending money, and I'm trying to do more things at home, focusing on handmade, homemade things, I would like to cultivate some of the hobbies that I've let lapse. Some of the things that I used to do growing up, like sewing and crocheting, that I always enjoyed, but I just haven't found space for in my life recently. I would like to take some of this time, especially in the wintertime, while we are not in the growing season and I need more things to do indoors that are not looking at a screen. I would love to be able to spend some of that time nurturing those hobbies. I think it would be so fun to, if I'm not buying things like clothes and home decor, to see if I can try and make some clothes or make some home decor. If I could sew some of my own clothes or crochet a beautiful cardigan for me to wear, I would feel so happy with that use of time. Even if it doesn't look picture perfect like something you might buy in a store, the fact that I made it myself would make it so special that I love it just as much. Also, I'd like to get into some new hobbies. As I've already alluded to, I would like to get more into bird watching. I'm trying to plant a garden for the birds in my backyard so that I can learn to identify some of the local native wildlife and just experience and appreciate nature, even in the times when it's cold and windy and like today, a blizzard outside. I want to be able to still look outside my windows and appreciate nature, even if I don't want to be standing outside in it. Oh, another hobby that I would love to get into this year is woodworking. I feel pretty confident in most of my basic homeowner home repair skills, but I would love to be able to do some things like furniture building, or even refinishing, upholstering. I have this dresser that I've had for a while that I would love to either sand and stain or repaint. And I just think it would just be so fun and exciting to be able to reimagine something that's in my space and level up my game with power tools, not be afraid of using them, and get into woodworking a little bit more. And eight, my last and final goal. And I did try to come up with 10, but honestly, this list is already quite full. And I don't want to put so many things on my plate that I feel defeated if I can't accomplish them. So, eight is the best that I can do in terms of homesteading goals for the year. And my eighth goal is to reuse, reduce, repurpose, make it myself, thrift it. What else did I say? Thrift, upcycle, make it myself. It's all things sustainability minded and reducing consumption minded. So we talked a little bit more about reducing consumption for the purpose of saving money, but this is really reducing consumption for the purpose of saving resources and protecting the environment. Everything that we use, everything that we buy has a carbon footprint, uses some amount of water, uses some amount of natural resources, and the extent to which we can extend the life of the things that we have, purchase less things overall, or reuse something old that we didn't think had any use anymore and finding a new use for it, that is going to dramatically, it's a little thing. It's a little thing. It's not the same as, you know, what big corporations or big governments can do, but it's a small action that I can take to feel like I'm having a positive impact on the environment, and it makes me feel like I'm making a positive contribution. So, those are my homesteading goals for the year 2025. I hope that you will let me know in the comments what goals you have for the year, goals in the garden, goals in the home, goals around your property. If you have no property, what are you looking forward to? What skills are you looking forward to building? And I think a lot of the skills that I mentioned, you actually could do even if you had no property at all, even if you were just in an apartment growing on a bike balcony. I think you could still learn a lot of these skills building towards a future homestead. So let's grow together this year. Let's keep each other accountable. Let's share encouragement in the comments. And I will look forward to seeing you very soon again out in the garden. Bye bye.